another toxic argument in my toxic marriage. And I'm here spending my time trying to call this woman for what? It hurts when you're trying to save your family. When you're trying to follow God and stay faithful. And these men out here can be so evil. I don't know what I did to deserve this. I've been nothing but good to this man. And you know what? I'm so tired of being treated like it's not fair. I hope God can just help me get out of this situation. I'm just so tired of crying. I don't deserve this. And you know what? I'm gonna stop making a fool out of my damn self. Calling these women, what am I calling them for? What are you calling them for? Seriously. Like, the only clown in the show is the one that's married, that's acting like he's not married, that's literally committing adultery, that is a whole entire fraud, that has been trying to play these women and play me, and play your kids, really, in the whole process. But you know what? I'm just so tired of being let down by men. I'm so tired. My son deserves better. He deserves better than these batch of men that are out here supposed to be teaching them the way. These men are not equipped to do but run their mouths. They don't actually do nothing to help these young black boys, these black boys who are struggling. These black boys who don't know their identity. These black boys who don't have no father in their life. And these black men are disappointing. Y'all not even stepping up in your own families.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So this particular video, definitely cuts directly to the heart of what I love to talk about on this channel, which is basically marriage. And many times I do lean into black marriage. And because of that leaning, I'm always trying to find out, like I said, what's going on, in these spaces. And I do my best to try to keep things balanced between men and women, because I do have men and women that follow me. But I also, really do believe that, God is the reason why we should be doing all of these things in the first place. So I don't want to make sure that I'm, walking that path. Now, to start off, I think we have to really understand everyone has their own truth. And it's the truth about what they've experienced in life. And what it seems like what she's saying is that she has married a man that has been a habitual cheater. All right. So she is basically in that situation. She has a son, at least because she kind of brought that up. And the fact that she feels that her husband is not a good role model to her son, and that he is not really, again, doing everything that he needs to do. And she feels the pain of not only dealing with a man who's cheating, but she even feels that why should she be out here talking to the women that he's cheating with and trying to get them to almost go away while she's trying to protect her family. And these are the types of things that I think a lot of women either have faced. And when I say a lot here, I'm not saying all, but I am saying I do think some black women have faced this. I do think some black women, this has been their reality. And so when they're out here, it's hard for them to see good black men. It's hard for them to understand that there are good black men out here. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that the biggest issue I actually think when it comes to Black relationships is the fact that it's very difficult many times for good people, i.e. good women, to find good men, and for good men to find good women. There is even a thing kind of when you become a toxic pick me or a toxic, simp. And I talk a little bit about that because I'm always saying that good people are going to be givers. Okay, that is one of the traits that you should be looking for in a potential partner. But a lot of times when you're a toxic giver, okay, you just give, 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 give. In fact, I was actually doing some research on that this morning, where many times childhood trauma can encourage someone to be constantly in that giving mood, but they never want to receive. In fact, it becomes very difficult for them to receive because they think it's odd or weird or something like that. So it puts them in this situation where they're constantly giving. And then because of that inner trauma and because of that toxicity, they actually lean themselves toward people that will actually take advantage of them. And again, I'm not here beating up on this particular lady. Like I say, my heart goes out to her. But we have to look at things and try to solve the problem. Because, that's what this channel is about. It's about trying to find ways to solve the problems out here. So while I do want to be sensitive to her, I also want to make sure that just like she says on the screen, with her message, it's kind of hard to see her face, but through that messaging, she's saying, okay, let's have some serious, dialogue about this. Well, part of the dialogue, really kind of goes back to the very beginning, which is what we know right now in our current state of being. We can't talk about what happened, 50 to 70 years ago. I know a lot of Black people, they brought those things up, and I am 100% for, that concept of, like I say, 50 to 70 years ago, talking about what happened to Black marriage, because there was more Black people getting married than white people actually in this particular country. That is actually a true thing. I remember, talking to my grandparents, and they would say all of their friends were married. They didn't even know anybody that wasn't married. So it's really over the last 3 generations, I would say 2 generations, that we're really seeing this huge epidemic, which is kind of where we are now, where only about 30% of Black kids are actually raised in, a family that actually has both parents. And then I would even say probably less are actually having both parents in a loving, healthy situation, because that's also a part of it. It's not just 2 people being together. It's about them trying to work it out, trying to have a relatively healthy home. We have to realize that a lot of our culture, Black culture, leans into this concept of doing each other wrong. Look at social media right now. You have literally men out here teaching other men that it's okay to be polygamous, that it's okay, that's just nature. You even have women, I've seen several women, saying the same thing, even encouraging men to be polygamous, and even saying that, hey, if a man isn't polygamous, they think it's something wrong with him. Then you have women saying, hey, get yours, sis. You got to come up, girl. Sprinkle, sprinkle, all this other kind of stuff, right? So we have people on both sides of this aisle that are actually trying to teach people how to be cruel to another person. They're trying to teach people how to get over on the opposite sex. And this is the literal reality that we live in, and we wonder why, as Black people, we struggle so much. Recently, I put up a video, and that video got a lot of love, and I thank you all for watching. And in that particular video, I was talking about, like I say, the future of the Black family, how the Black family is falling apart and different things like that. And the reason why, again, that's so important is because what are we really trying to do? See, you've got to understand that, especially when you see the cross on the screen, that you have an enemy out here that does not want marriage. He just doesn't want it. And so he's going to do everything he can, get in every single person's ear in order to stop that process. You have to put yourself in a position to win. If you did not come up under 2 healthy parents they were trying to work it out, they were trying to do the right thing, you should automatically know that if you go into a marriage, you need extra work. You need to be reading books. You need to be maybe going to therapy, honestly, probably for the rest of your life. You need to put yourself in the women's ministry or the men's ministry at your church where most people in there are married. You need to get around people and stop assuming that you know. You have to do that, because if you don't, you're opening the door, okay, for problems, right? But let's take this a step back and let's talk specifically to her problem, okay? Where did she make her mistakes? And again, we're not trying to blame the victim, but she actually did put information out there and literally on the screen where she is saying, let's talk about this. So again, where did she make her mistake? The biggest mistake she made was that she didn't recognize that she's a toxic giver, okay? Based off of her testimony, it seems like she is a toxic giver. And she found a man that was a taker. Because see, that's what generally happens. Givers find takers. Even on ladies, even for men. There's a lot of men that are givers. All right? And they are abused. All you have to do is, once you get done with this video, Google why nice guys finish last. Nice guys are givers. Nice guys don't look like, oh my gosh, you seem like such a nice person. Oh, I would just love to talk to you. That is not how nice guys look. I'll be honest, and I've said this before. I am a nice guy. I've been kind of like that. I've even had women that I've dated actually tell me that. But then they're also very surprised that I have this backbone that many of them don't recognize that I would have, because they think, oh, nice guys are supposed to give me whatever I want. They're supposed to do this, they're supposed to do that. And then when they see this backbone of, no, I'm not going to give you that, or no, I'm not going to do that, then they get surprised and they're like, what? Because what they think a nice guy is and what a nice guy really is two totally different things. And when I say that, I'm saying that in almost every aspect of what a relationship would be. See, a nice guy, quote unquote, is really just a guy, like I said, that's a little bit of a giver, that actually thinks about you when he is making decisions. That's really all it is. Now, a super duper simp, like I said, a toxic simp, is going to be the type of guy that's going to give you everything that you want. He's just going to bend over backwards to your whim. All right? And that's just like a toxic pick-me. Okay? So again, I think we put people in these buckets without giving these buckets degrees. And recognizing it's a huge difference between a man that's a simp and he's a simp on 10 versus a man that's a giver. And even if you want to use the term simp, he's a simp on 5 or 6. All right? These are two totally different men. Right? And I've always encouraged men that follow me that you should be serving like Jesus, that you should be leading like Jesus. And Jesus took care of his disciples. He took care of the people that were around him. In fact, like I said, there's actually scripture where he actually says, would you even be following me, if I didn't feed you? So there's a part of Jesus that even looks at other people and is like, I don't know if your heart is truly with me, even though I have been nice to you. With this particular lady, she has been in a place of toxic giving. And what she found was a taker. And takers never, ever give. They're never going to give to you. There could be thousands of reasons why. We can't put it, again, all in one bucket, that they're 100% selfish. Because one of the things that I've found, and I've actually, again, talked about this in a few videos, is that sometimes fear is a reason why people don't give. I've been encouraging more and more of you to actually help each other in finding your person. That was the number one way that people found, their person 20, 30 years ago. And we need to get back to that. But the argument that a lot of people give is that, well, I don't want my friends to be mad at me if the relationship doesn't work. Well, that basically is fear. You're afraid that the person is not going to like you, that they're not going to be your friend anymore. And that fear, God actually says, is bad. In Revelation, God says the cowardly, okay, pretty much are going to be thrown into the lake of fire. So God says in Joshua, be courageous. So when you're starting to deal with situations out here and you're dealing with women, like this particular lady, she has to understand that she's in that place. She's in that place. She's trying to find that guy that is not the taker. But the takers take. And like I said, they could be taking just because they're afraid. They could be taking just because that's what their boys in this particular situation told them to do. It's just like a lot of Shira 7 stuff, with the sprinkle. She's encouraging women who would naturally be givers to turn into takers. You have other influencers that are telling women that it's the woman who's mean and nasty is the woman that gets everything that she wants. So you could be listening to someone and that turn you into a taker. But God does not want you to be a taker, and relationships don't last unless both people are givers. And that's why Jesus constantly says over and over again to give. And even when he is, telling people about it, he's almost telling them to a degree, you kind of have to lean toward a drop of toxicity, okay, knowing that you're doing it for God and not for man. But what I'm here to tell you, okay, and to help you with is that when you're picking your spouse, like Jesus ain't saying you got to take a toxic spouse. It don't say that anywhere in the Bible, that you have to align yourself with this person who is toxic for the rest of your life. What it is leaning you toward is, like I say, being intelligent enough, okay, that when you're doing your picking, you want to pick a person that's a giver. Both sides need to understand that. So this is why I always encourage women, when you first get around a man in the first 2 to 3 weeks, you need to see whether or not he's a giver. This is also why men pay for the first date, okay, to show that they're a little bit of a giver. Over that first 90 days as a woman, yes, you should be turning more and more of your giving on. But the man has to turn his on as well. And by the end of that 90 days, you both should be satisfying 90% of each other's needs. If you're not doing this, then that is a problem. And as because we're dealing with women primarily, but like I say, this works for both men and women. When you're a woman and you've decided to stay, okay, with a man that is a taker because you think that he is sexually awesome, or you think he is so attractive, or you think he has all this money, or you think, whatever it is that you're thinking that is making you believe that this is a good decision, I'm going to be honest with you. See, this is where you have that split between men and women. You have that split where men are like, well, y'all doing this to yourself. And they get frustrated, when they see, because trust me, men get frustrated when they see women go through this. They really do. Okay, I think a lot of women don't think that. But see, the way men work is that men are, like I say, we are explainers, just like I'm explaining things to you in this video. In fact, like I said, you can even look up mansplain, which was like a feminist term that was actually negative, that they were basically trying to say when a man tries to explain something to you, that's a bad thing. But men explain things to you when they care about you, because we don't want to see you hurt, and our job is to try to protect you. And so what ends up happening is, as these women are going through this, the men are sitting there saying, why didn't you choose better? Why didn't you choose better? And see, I believe that there is a part, and again, I'm saying this with sincerity, I'm saying this with love, okay? Because there are women out here that are trying to help their sisters. And they're trying to say, girl, he's not any good for you. Girl, blah, blah, blah. But we've got to find a way to really get more people, period, both men and women, to make better decisions. See, that's really where the problem is. And do people in other races and cultures make bad decisions? Yeah, they make bad decisions all the time. But a lot of them have been trained, okay, down to the bone, okay, to follow a certain path. See, one of the things that we don't talk about enough in the Black community is discipline. And discipline is honestly the thing that I think is at the core of the problem in the Black community. And the reason why is because we want to get away with everything. We never want to follow the rules. We think it's okay to just bump the rules and do what we want. And when you start to deal with a lot of other cultures, especially the cultures that are winning, they don't do that. They don't bump the rules. They follow the rules. Because when you follow very close to the rules, you end up with a better life. Yes, it might not be as fun. Yes, it might not be as exciting. Yes, it might not have all these bells and whistles that you think your life should have. But it's a better life. It's a more solid life. And you end up raising better children. All right? And that is really how so many other cultures have come into the United States and have taken over. Because, see, what they will do is that they will get on a business, they will work that business, they will hustle in that business or work a job or whatever it is. They will pack up 2 and 3 families in one house. They will live like that for 10 years while they build their money. They'll get enough money where they'll just go buy a house, okay, without a note or anything like that, because many of you all don't know, some of you may, but many of you might not know, but that most people, by the time you buy a house and you've actually paid it off, you've actually bought that house twice. And depending upon your loan, you could have actually bought that house 3 times. So a house that costs you $250,000, you end up spending $750,000 for it. But what these people recognize is that if they struggle and suffer and are super disciplined for 10 years, they can go in, buy the house straight up and save themselves anywhere between $300,000 to $500,000 already over the next 20 years. And if you just did that, then you could get the Mercedes. You could get all that stuff that you wanted, even though you'll get it a little bit later. But see, that's the same mentality. Understanding that you have to be that level of discipline. And see, that's the thing that people should be looking for. But in the Black culture, we do not encourage people to live like that. We encourage people to live literally like there is no tomorrow. There are so many songs that we have that are basically like, I just got paid, it's Friday night, I'm about to spend this money. We have so many songs like that in the Black community because we act like tomorrow will never come. And that is not the best way to live life. But see, what happens is that's in our culture, and then we marry like that's in our culture, so we just gonna have fun, and then we think that that's gonna be sustainable, and it's not. So to this woman's issue, like I said, the main problem is, and I kind of hate to say it because it's gonna sound very unfeeling, but for the ladies watching, I'm just letting you know I do care, but I'm trying to get to her point. She picked poorly. She picked poorly. And when you pick poorly, this is what happens. When you pick well, then you end up with a man that's there. He takes care of you. He's not out here cheating. He's not out here doing this, that, and the third. He's building businesses, making money, okay, has his vision, all of those things. He's working toward that. Okay, but when you pick poor, everything in your life just kind of falls apart. And this is one of those places where the women that follow me and even the men that follow me, I'm hoping that you kind of understand that the person that you should be picking, they should be doing for you. Okay? It is not okay that they refuse to do anything for you. And you're just hanging out and you're giving to them, but they're not giving to you. And the giving should not be tit for tat. How does tit for tat work? Well, you go off, let's say, for instance, if I'm dating a woman and I don't know, we're out and we're at a store or something. And she says, hey, she's interested in buying a shirt. And I decide, okay, she doesn't, have enough money or whatever it is. And I just decide to buy the shirt for her. Say we're just dating at this point. And I just decide to buy the shirt for her for whatever reason. And then next thing I know, we go out the next week and she's trying to buy me something. She's trying to pay me back. That's basically what it is. She doesn't understand that was a moment of giving. She should accept it and then give me the feminine version of giving later, if this makes sense. And so that tit for tat is when, like I say, I do for you, and then you try to do for me. And when you do that, The problem is somebody's keeping score. They're keeping a record. And generally the tit for tat person is keeping a record in their head. They're saying, okay, this person gave to me 5 times, so I need to give to them 4 times. And the reason why that doesn't work is because there's going to be times in your life, okay, where one person might be giving literally 1,000 while the other person gives 200. It's always going to ebb and flow because that's how life works. All right. So tit for tat is not how you work. You always work to be a giver. Always. Always thinking, how can I give to my person? How can I give to my person? How can I give to my person every day? But then you need to have the wherewithal to understand that, okay, is this person giving to me at all? Are they doing anything for me? Or if I'm the only person giving? Now, I will say it could become tricky because some people give in certain ways. And you have to actually talk to those people about the fact that, okay, I see that you're giving to me, but you're not giving to me in the way that I desire gifts to be given. And that's why people have love languages and all this other kind of stuff. But in essence, everybody's love language is different. It's actually beyond the 5. Believe it or not, it's actually beyond the 5. And I've talked about that a little bit more. But, I can't really go into detail in this particular video. But that's really all it is. Black marriage, it'll be great if you pick well, if you plan well, if you're extremely disciplined. Okay, if you take the pattern that God gave you, if you lean more towards what God is saying, then you're going to have a great marriage. If you lean away, if you think it's okay to be selfish, it's okay not to take care of yourself. Because I'm going to be real, a lot of women, and I kind of hate to lean this on women, but it's a little bit more women than men. But again, you don't take care of yourself. And when you don't take care of yourself, you say, well, you care so much about beauty. No, it's not just about beauty. And I've talked about this before. Sugar is a depressant. Okay, and when you get sugar in your body, too much of it, you actually become depressed. That's actually, true. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see. It's actually a depressant. So the more you do that, the more you're taking away the full essence of you. And you're hurting yourself. It's the same thing if a man or a woman is eating a lot of, fatty foods and stuff like that. That stuff hurts you. It literally hurts you. And then it also hurts your health. And even if you want to look at it from a financial perspective, the more health problems you have, the more your insurance is going to go up and the more you're going to pay. And you might not pay in your 30s, but you're definitely going to be paying in your 40s. So all this stuff matters. All of it matters. And again, if you want to talk about what does God say about food, and I understand that Paul was trying to get people to eat anything, but you also have to understand that Paul even said we're not going to follow all the rules and regulations right now. He even talked about circumcision. We're not going to circumcise right now. But every man in the United States, pretty much almost 99% of us have been circumcised. So you have to understand that what Paul was trying to do was usher in Christianity. But when you go back to Daniel was talking about how we're supposed to eat. Okay, and it was really leaning towards fruits and vegetables. Okay, and healthy meals. And we're all smart enough to know now a quick Google search will teach you how you should be eating. Anyway, I hope this helped. Please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.